Namaste and hello. Welcome to yet another episode of The Light Within. In this episode, we are going to talk about the spiritual ways of finding your focus and alignment. There are states of beings where I found myself simply flowing, whether it is routine, mundane things, or something of deep significance. I've experienced states when everything is simply effortless. There might be tons of things happening around, but I'm somehow in the zone. I have absolute clarity of what needs to be done, and I'm able to maintain my focus to finish whatever I plan to do. What's also important is that I've been able to do it with joy and not with a sense of obligation or pressure. Now, there's another side of it. I've also experienced the opposite, and I bet most of you have too. It's not as if you do not have the goals in front of you, but somehow you just feel disconnected. It just randomly happens, like nothing major has to happen to you to lose focus, but you do, and then you just feel a sense of frustration for why you're feeling so disconnected. Sometimes you can point a finger and say that this is why I'm feeling lost or disconnected. Maybe it could be an argument, it could be a non commitment from your end. But a lot of times you can't really figure out why is it that you're feeling disconnected. And that's where you need a perspective to get things in order for yourself mentally. It's not uncommon to feel this way. In fact, this age and time, all the more, because there's just too much happening around us. And even if we don't want, we somehow end up consuming a lot of information through others. Our work life is extremely demanding, and with the routine of meeting life's demands, it becomes extremely hard to find the quiet time to really figure out the reason for disconnection. Is it really the inability to focus? Are we distracted? Is it because we are simply tired? Or is it due to the constant buzz of information? Whatever it is, let me share a few perspectives about how you can reclaim your connection back to yourself and flow in the zone. So, the first perspective is to understand that we have a monkey mind. Firstly, if you've noticed, I've called this episode as spiritual ways to find your focus and not just ways to find your focus. Any clue why I might have done that? Anything that comes from your mind is going to be temporary. It is not going to last for long. As they say, it is a monkey mind. The nature of mind is to jump from one thing to another. Hence, first thing is to understand that you are not your mind and create a distance between yourself and your mind. You may say, well, how do I do that? You don't need to do anything. You simply have to be aware and pay attention to this fact that you are not your mind. So when you are trying to fix anything in your life, make sure you are listening to your soul's guidance and not your mind. How will you know the difference between the two? Soul's guidance will be devoid of any drama and will bring a sense of peace. If you're feeling uneasy or unfocused, it is highly likely that you've been operating mostly from your mind. This statement can confuse many people. If you don't understand what I mean, you might say, Shama, obviously I'm going to operate from my mind. What else? So there's mind and there is a deeper part of yourself. You call it soul, you call it higher self, or whatever you call it. But when you get too consumed with the outside world, you lose connection to this part of yourself and life becomes extremely reactionary. It is a good idea to evaluate if you have been simply reacting to life's demands, in which case you will obviously feel exhausted and disconnected and misaligned. Mind is a distracted mechanism. Now, that's one way to look at it. Another way is to keep your connection steady with your soul's guidance, in which case you will not have to worry about the mind at all. If you're trying to find your way back to focus and alignment, step out from the monkey mind and reconnect with the deeper part of yourself. Journal, meditate, devote your time in practices which bring you closer to yourself. You will find your way back home. Moving on to another perspective to reclaim alignment and focus is to remind yourself that you are here to give. So, when we feel out of alignment or out of focus, 9 out of 10 times we are thinking only about ourselves. With the rut of life, our perspectives shrink and we limit our thoughts to what is happening to us and how things could be better. We give ourselves too much importance. When we want to try something new, we are worried about how others will see us, as if others have no other work to do. I agree that there are critics, but trust me, people have their own battles to fight, and hence you and I should keep our focus to ourselves and offer our best selves no matter what. This may sound very preachy, but trust me, where I'm coming from is that if you keep your focus only to yourself and allow yourself to understand that you are here to contribute, you will be back into alignment. I want you to expand your view and see yourself as a part of this magnificent universe, the immense opportunities it has for everyone. Yes, there are situations and circumstances beyond our control, and there are things we wish could be better. But I bet those are a piece of your pie. It's not the entire cake. If you have lost alignment and focus, it's very hard to look at things you should be thankful for. But I'm sure there are things that you and I can be grateful about. You know, the thing with the current scenario is that when we hear these words, we feel, oh, yes, this is true. There are things that I'm thankful for, and something changes within us. But the next moment you meet someone and they blabber about the 27 things which are not working for them, and again you're back in the same zone. Can you take the personal responsibility to understand your role in the larger scheme of things and hold yourself accountable for that? Do not limit your vision to pettiness. Expand your view and instead focus on how you can make a difference, how you can contribute, what can you offer. I am 100% sure that it will put you back on track. The moment you shift the focus away from yourself, you will find your way back into alignment. You know, the other day I was just in this zone of feeling a little lost of sorts. Not sure if I was just tired or maybe I was thinking that I have my eyes off my target and my goals or something like that. Irrespective, here I was standing in a crowded metro, and just then I saw a woman entering the metro with a baby in one hand and a huge bag on the other. And it were the peak hours, and the woman was barely able to balance herself, like she was really struggling. While a lot of women noticed her, but no one gave their seat to her. And as I noticed, I didn't hesitate asking the lady sitting next to me where I was standing to give her seat to this woman. And she happily did. I mean, there was no resistance. So we took her bag, someone started distracting her baby to calm her down, and everything was just very effortless. Why am I sharing this? Just sharing this to tell you that there are moments when we shift our attention away from ourselves and we see how we can contribute, things start to fall in place. After this, in a minute, my mind was clear and a few smiles were exchanged, and I was back to being connected. It was that simple, isn't it? Because the nature of our soul is love and kindness and peace, and when you do things that restore these emotions and these harmonies within your life and within your surroundings, you will instantly back to being connected. Now, another perspective, find your way back to the source. Oh, this one is big. Most often, when I have felt out of focus or alignment, I am in my petty existence, taking the load of the world on my shoulders, resenting everything without realizing that I am a nobody. Now, don't take my words literally. What I mean is that who am I if I'm not connected to the energy who created me? Really, who are we? It's like a mobile with a drained out battery, for a lack of a better example. It's a mechanism which is incapable to function because it is disconnected from its source. Our scriptures tell us, Aham Brahmasmi. What is the true meaning of this word? Aham Brahmasmi simplifies to the idea that I am the ultimate reality, or I am the divine. It expresses the understanding that our true self is connected to the universal consciousness or the cosmic spirit, emphasizing the oneness between the individual self and the ultimate reality. I am divine, but am I honoring the divine or am I simply listening to my ego? 9 out of 10 times, when we feel out of alignment or disconnected or just lost, we are listening to our ego. So when they tell us, we don't believe it, and then we crib that we are powerless. So how can it work both ways? Isn't it? So when somebody tells you that you are divine, you actually have to believe it. Now, the ways that you connect with the divine or divinity could be different for different people. It can be a physical ritual, it can be doing something that fulfills you, or just reminding yourself of the goals that you have set for yourself. But whatever it is, bring it back to practice again so that you can be back into alignment. The next one is one of my favorite because it just works for me 100% of the time. It is not a perspective, it is a question that puts things into perspective for me. And the question is, how much am I allowing myself to flow in this moment? I repeat, how much am I allowing myself to flow in this moment? Ask yourself this question, and you will be back home. Was it a light bulb moment when I asked this question? I absolutely love it. This is one of the most empowering questions you can ask yourself. Let me ask you this. Why are you here? You are here to live your life. You are here to express who you are and to enable others as you do that. You know this. You have this awareness. Yet you get pulled into the demands of life and you forget. It is a good idea to evaluate. You might be in your own way. Most of the times we are in our own way. We might be blaming other people or circumstances for blocking our flow, but that's not true. We are not allowing ourselves to flow. We are not allowing ourselves to be ourselves. Most likely, we are either upset about not being able to keep the commitments to ourselves, or we are worrying about the future. Can you return in the now and ask yourself this question? How much am I allowing myself to flow in this moment? Is there any fear which is holding you back? Are you thinking about the past? Are you thinking about the future? I've only given a few scenarios, but it's likely that there's completely something else that might be the reason for disconnection or the lack of focus. But whatever it is, I'm certain that if you ask this question to yourself and listen to the answer that comes from within without any judgment, you will be on track before you know. So in this episode, we discussed about getting back into focus and alignment. A few ways that we shared were understanding where you're operating from, your mind or ego, which is shallow and wants to have control, or is it your soul, the deeper part of yourself who knows? The second way to find your way back to focus is to remind yourself that you are here to give, to contribute. Don't sacrifice yourself as you do that, but keep moving your focus away from yourself every once in a while. Third perspective is to find your way back to the source, God or divine energy, divinity, universe, whatever you want to call it. And the last one is one of the most empowering questions. How much am I allowing myself to flow in the moment? So that's all for this episode. I will see you in the next episode. Until then, keep shining the light within.